McIntosh. Whether it's the blue and green glow of the LEDs or the iconic logo itself, McIntosh is recognized as a true legend in the hi-fi community. With 60 years of experience under their belt, this New York-based company has managed to capture the very essence of what hi-fi has always been about. Providing a vast array of hi-fi components ranging from amplifiers to turntables and everything imaginable in between, McIntosh is a one-stop shop for the music enthusiasts and audiophiles seeking the pinnacle of American hi-fi. Pride of ownership? Yeah, no doubt about it. McIntosh is the real deal, and with a warm welcome back to New Record Day, we have the pleasure of looking at one of their latest and solid-state designs, the C52 Preamplifier. The C52 is a state-of-the-art preamplifier that combines Swiss Army knife-like flexibility with modern implementations offered to those seeking digital solutions for high-resolution audio while remaining true to analog purists all at the same time. Speaking of analog, the C52 includes 3 balanced and 4 unbalanced fully assignable inputs and tosses in moving magnet and moving coil phono inputs for those looking to get the record spinning. On the digital side of the spectrum, the C52 offers 3 optical, 2 coaxial, and 1 USB input. High-resolution audio decoding and PCM up to 32-bit, 384 kHz is not a problem for this bad boy, and even supports DSD 64, 128, and 256, plus DXD 352.8 kHz and DXD 384 kHz. For those snagging the new MCT 450 SACD CD transport, the C52 offers an MCT input for secure, custom DSD connection for playback of CDs and Super Audio CDs, delivering the best sound possible from your digital library. Accessing all controls via the front panel is a snap, and the included remote gives enough functionality to complete the package. Tossing in a precision 8-band equalizer and Sirius headphone section featuring the HXD crossfeed director and home theater pass-through rounds out the C52 as being one heck of a robust platform to be reckoned with. All specs are noted on McIntosh's website, and rather than wasting your time covering stuff you can check out in a matter of minutes, we are going to be spending the majority of our time here putting the C52 through its paces and pushing it to its limits. On the front panel, the C52 offers a 1/4-inch headphone input, push-button controls for output 1 and 2, an input selector knob which doubles as a setup dial when held, an EQ button for enabling and disabling the 8-band EQ on the front panel, mute, power, and of course, volume. To the left of the volume knob, the C52 offers 8 bands of equalization frequencies which include the following: 25 Hz, 50 Hz, 100 Hz, 200 Hz, 400 Hz, 1 kHz, 2.5 kHz, and 10 kHz. With a 12 decibel EQ boost or cut of each band, there is little to no doubt you will have no trouble dialing in the exact tone you want, and if a straight line is what you seek, not a problem, as the EQ is 100% defeatable. Also included is the menu offerings of balance, input level adjustments, mono stereo mode, EQ, meter illumination, and brightness. For those running a number of sources and like the idea of matching levels, the C52's input level control does exactly that, which is handy for keeping all sources the same volume when changing inputs. On the business end, you are handed more connections than you will know what to do with. The C52 has the ability to automatically switch power on-off to source components via the power control connections, while the data port connections allow for the remote operation of basic functions using the C52 remote control. With an external sensor connected to the C52, remote control operation of the system is possible from another room, and/or when the C52 is located in a cabinet with the doors closed. To the right of the power control and data ports, the C52 makes room for a wide array of digital inputs: USB, MCT, optical and digital coax offers flexibility for any digital components. For analog, 3 balanced XLR inputs will allow for long cable runs without running into interference, and for those sticking to unbalanced, the C52 gives 4 inputs to play with along with a fixed output in the same bank of jacks. One thing really cool about the C52 is it gives the ability to assign the different inputs a name, which makes finding what you want to listen to a snap while giving the Mac a splash of personality. To the right, the C52 includes both moving magnet and moving coil options along with a ground lug for both. For those going with moving magnet, you have plenty of loading options ranging from 50 to 800 picofarads in steps of 50 and of course 47K ohms. For those with moving coil cartridges, the C52 gives 25, 50, 100, 200, 400, and 1K ohms for loading options. With the desire to try 3 different amplifiers having blood pumped from the heart of the C52, I wanted to know if the Mac adds its own sonic color into the mix, and if so, what that color looks like when the painting is complete. First, I wanted to try something that sounded transparent and detailed. The Hypex Encore NC400s have scored high marks in these departments, and being Class D should offer an interesting twist to this party. Also on deck, I wanted to try a Pass Labs 150.8, which sounds very different than that of the Encores. Rich, smooth, and plenty of dynamic slam is what the Pass is all about, and should make for one heck of a contrast to the NC400s. Last, I wanted to go all out and pair the C52 with Rogue Audio's Dark Apollos, which dish out a massive 250 watts of tube carnage. All impressions will be based on my tried and true Anthony Gallo reference 3.1s, and my source being this bad mother flower, a VPI Avenger. Last, I'll spend some time covering the built-in Phono, headphone section, and DAC. So without wasting another minute, McIntosh, let's dance. With the Encores, the top-end extension of the C52 sounded ballsy, and cymbal hits smashed their way through the mix, leaving traces of room reverb bouncing off walls, making it clear that while this preamp provides a tidal wave of sound, it also shows off a good amount of detail. Attack and decay of rides and hi-hats offered in Ray Brown's Solar Energy sounded organic, and the strike of the stick hitting the cymbal head replaced the typically heard hiss for something more realistic, like a bell ringing throughout the track. Aaron Presence floats around the stage, offering a wide distance between each musician, with plenty of gaps between the notes filled with pitch-black backgrounds. Having heard the Encores with a wide variety of preamps and passives, it was pretty obvious that this combo was the first evidence that the C52 does in fact have its own sound. But before we make any assumptions, let's move on to the other amps and see where we land. The 150.8 offers Class A operation up to 15 watts, and at low volumes, it shows it. Everything served up by the Mac sounded pretty smooth and reminiscent of the tone discovered in the first Watt F6. For those looking for music rendered with softer corners and edges, this would fit the bill. If you are running sensitive speakers that won't push the amp past Class A operation, I could see this being a killer match for anyone sensitive to listening fatigue. With this being the case, the Mac and Pass combo also offered slam and dynamic punch when reaching the mid-80s and the volume increasing into Class AB territory. Also, I could tell the entire top end shifted forward, and the cymbals at low volumes went from sounding splashy to Katie bar the door and run for the hills. While never fatiguing for me, these two components are 100% rock and roll when cranked and seem to mesh very well together without sounding too edgy or brash. With the Dark Apollos on deck and making my way through the opening track of Brothers in Arms, Money for Nothing, I quickly experienced a classic tone that many of my audio pals tell me what McIntosh is known for. The best way that I can describe what I'm hearing is robust, powerful, and packed full of dynamic slam. I remember once hearing a fellow reviewer call Max the Rolls-Royce of hi-fi, and I'm going to have to respectfully disagree. What I'm hearing is 100% all-American muscle, and if I'm thinking of a car to describe the essence of McIntosh, my vote would be a 1972 Chevelle SS 454. Making my way through the rest of the album, I considered the differences I hear when listening to my reference preamp, which at the time of this review is a Tortuga Audio passive LDR. Without question, the McIntosh sounds more mid-range forward and offers more thump in the lower octaves. Perhaps not as squeaky clean or transparent as a passive, I keep hearing more stuff packed into the crevices of the music, and for me, sounds like the instruments are glued together with a thicker brand of glue. Listening to male vocals, the C52 seemed to squeeze out more texture in Pearl Jam's Lightning Bolt, and traded ultra detail and transparency for warmer tone throughout the midband. Bottom line, does the C52 bring its own coloration or sound to the party? Does McIntosh have its own sound, and if so, did I hear that signature sound with all three amps? You know what, maybe it's placebo, but I do believe I hear something special here. Big, bold, rich, and powerful all come to mind, and I'll tell you what, folks, when using other preamps with the same amplifiers we just walked through, I don't get this tone which lands me on this conclusion. If there is a sound that should be noted in the history books of what American hi-fi is supposed to sound like, this should be first in line. Let's check out the phono section. Within the first few minutes of checking out the built-in phono section on the C52, being fed by a VPI Avenger equipped with the Dyna 20X2L, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that McIntosh pays close attention to giving the absolute best performance with their integration of their phono section, approaching darn close to the same level of performance offered by my past labs XP15, which retails for $3,800. The C52's built-in phono section doesn't sound anything like any other integrated phono section I have ever heard. To be clear, it's heads and shoulders above them all. This level of performance really pulls all the stops and will answer the following question that I've even asked myself. So why doesn't McIntosh make a dedicated phono preamp? The answer? Because they don't need to. Tossing on the wonderful Hi-Fi Man Edition X's, I could tell right away this headphone section is going to impress anyone that uses it. Swinging dynamics, smooth, and a refined top-end extension, bass slam aplenty, and bold mid-range all come to mind when trying to articulate what I'm hearing pour out of the headphone section. Turning on the built-in HXD option from the front panel, the typical outside-your-head sound is instantly changed to that closer of a center image you hear when listening to speakers when set up correctly. While not for everyone, this feature worked very well in my listening tests, and I used it 50% of the time spent listening to the headphone section of the McIntosh. Even when trying something harder to drive like the Sennheiser HD800s, the C52 didn't bat an eye, and I walked away from these listening sessions bushwhacked by just how much effort goes into every detail of the McIntosh, even the headphone section. Firing up some high-resolution offerings from our friends at HD Tracks, I was immediately impressed with the resolution, transparency, and even dynamics rendered by the digital side of the McIntosh. Firing up The Real Blues off Ray Brown Trio's Summer Wind, I was drawn to the level of detail retrieval offered by the Mac's ability to render this 24-bit recording. Clearly hearing the opening coughs, chair shuffling, and laughable interruption of the cell phone going off in the middle of the performance was a treat, and gave way to an open window into the rest of the soundstage. As the bass dynamics came into play, I felt the same level of intensity and musicality found in the very best that even vinyl has to offer. Bottom line, the digital side of the McIntosh is no joke, and even the most hardcore analog junkies like myself, I gotta tell you guys, this thing sounds impressive. My time with the C52 has solidified one undeniable truth, and that is the fact that American hi-fi wouldn't be the same without McIntosh. 60 years, and yet they continue their pursuit of bringing musical enjoyment into the homes of music enthusiasts and audiophiles alike. As my time comes to an end with the mighty C52 Preamplifier, the one thing that is crystal clear in my mind is they have done exactly that.